I'm standing on Langå's probably most significant landmark, the Iron Bridge. And this bridge was built by the British and shipped here, and was the only railway bridge at one time. And it ended up playing an important part in the war. Towards the end of the war, the British, ironically, ordered the Danish resistance to blow it up. And at that time, there were 3 bridges, the Iron Bridge, and 2 more bridges over the river. Gudenå, the river of the gods, the longest river in Denmark. So on one faithful night in November, some saboteurs from runners biked out here to the bridge and laid their explosives, which had been parachuted in by the British. They thought they'd failed because the fuses, which were meant to last 20 minutes, never seemed to go off. They expected to hear the explosions on their way home. However, around 5 o'clock the next morning, the fireworks began.
Værnemagten reagerede voldsomt og hurtigt. Allerede dagen efter var Randers fyldt af Gestapo-agenter fra Aarhus, der finkæmmede byen for modstandsfolk.
3 bridges were blown up. The Iron Bridge survived and has been repaired. The 2 other bridges are gone forever. And this severely disrupted the trains which were carrying troops and supplies for the Nazis. And at the end of the war, you just see the bridge there in the background. At the end of the war, it was one of the 4 actions which meant that Denmark was judged to be on the side of the Allies. There were 3 actions at sea and this action on land. So it's historically a very important bridge, and for me, it sums up Langå. There were 2 graphical elements I wanted to include in the kit for Langå. The first one is the river, as Langå literally translates to long river. And the second element is the rusty red bridge, as it's known locally. Now, some people can draw, but for the rest of us, there's amorphic. So I'm going to start with the river, which will be a stripe that goes all the way through the shirt, the same way the river goes through the town. About that wide. Just scale that. And then we need the banks of the river. I'll just make that a bit smaller. And for the banks of the river, I'm going to add a border. It doesn't matter at this stage, the colour. I'll work on that as I go along. And there we have my river. I'm going to select that element and copy it over to the back. If I make it a reference, then it will change colour together with the main element. It's not quite long enough there, so I can scale that up. Make sure it covers the whole of the shirt, and then I'll start applying some colour. So up here I have my colour palette. At the moment the main colour is white. The banks of the Langå, the river of the gods, are green. Lots of greenery on both sides. So I want to go for some sort of shade of green without it looking like a goalkeeper. So that would be too goalkeeper-esque, that one. So I'm going to look up a Pantone colour. Happens to be one of my favourite colours. 546. There it is. It's very dark, but still green. And for the river, see, the river is colour 3, so we can change colour 3 to be some kind of blue. And that actually works quite well. The exact colour that I ended up using was 7457, slightly more blue, less green. And then for the border, I'm going to use a gold colour. So gold is actually kind of a yellowy green. Try and find one. I can search for actual Pantone colours. So that one works well without sticking out. You can see it's changed on the back as well. And so we don't have a break in the river, I'm going to use that same colour for the neckband. That was colour 3. So we have some continuation there. And then I want to add a stripe to there, a gold stripe. So I'm going to put some guides down there. I can see those guides on my model. So start about there. Just about see those stripes. And then I can draw a shape in there. That's very small. I think I'll zoom in and try that again. And at the moment it's the same colour blue, so I'll just change that to colour 2, which was the gold. And I can scale that. And as you can see, that's repeated on there. I think I'll just turn off those guides, and then I can use my arrow keys to place it exactly where I want it. I think it's still a bit big. Let's make it more subtle. Or should I actually make a gold band that meets the other gold band? I think I will. So I'll make that the same thickness as the main one. That looks quite elegant. And I can copy that with press the D button. Gives me a reference, and I can move the reference. So we get this double band, and that's the effect I was looking for. Now we need, of course, the badge, the crest of the club. So I haven't got that. Oh yes, there it is. That's a PNG. I think I have a vector version, which I'll just upload. There we go. That's a nice clean transparent logo, and I can place that on the shirt. A little bit too big, I think most people would agree. I think I'll turn my guides on again, have a guide for my logo and my number, which I'm going to put on the other side. I'll just change the font. Use my lucky number, 23. See, that's not, depends on the font, it's not really center. That is the center of the font, but it doesn't visually work. So I can just take my arrow keys and move it up a little bit. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. 3.5, working in inches on this particular pattern. I can just press the H key so I can get rid of the marker but still have it selected. That looks fine there. I probably should give that a bit of bling. I'll try and add a border. You can see we've got all the colours of the palette here. So I'll go for a gold border. And I'll tell the system that that is an active element. If I'm doing a roster, then that needs to change. So I can just say that is a number front. And then I could duplicate that. Move it over to the back. Obviously rescale that. I'll go for 7 inches. 9. Adjust my border. It might disappear a little bit into the pattern there, so I could swap those colours over. Have gold with a blue. I'm not sure, but I'll carry on working. Then I need a name, so let's put a name on there. Change font and put a border on there as well. So I'm not entirely happy with that, but let's carry on. Can always adjust it all the way along. I can change like all the golds at the same time. Change that to whatever I want. So I got my basic shirt, but and my river. I think the text is too big there. Let's take that down to 3 inches. So for the bridge, I want a arched shape that goes across the shoulders, crossing the river. In this tool, I've got boxes and I've got circles, but that's about it. So what I'm going to do is open the separate program, the Graphic Studio, because that offers me a full range of working tools. And I'll just draw very simple shape, and this has some nice tools where you can grab a vector and make it into a curve. You can also hold control down and make a corner, but That's not what I wanted to do. That's the shape I was looking for. Save that to my assets. We'll just call that arch. That's saved. Go back to the main program, and then if I go into my catalogue here, you can see there's an arch, and you can see I've been practicing as well. So there's 2 arches. I'll use the new arch I just created and place that somewhere here. Center it. I'm going to scale that up. It's all 100% vector, so I can scale the graphics as big as I need them without any degradation. And that's half my bridge. Now I'll use the duplicate. I've got a separate copy that I can put across the back. And that's my arch. I want to colour that graphic. So here we use the colorize tool. You can see it's actually got blue fill and a black border. So I'm going to change that to, I know I want it to be represent the rusty bridge, but I don't really want to use a kind of brown. That would be kind of too earthy. So I'm going to use what they call it, the red rusty bridge. So I'll go for a more red colour, and I happen to know the Pantone 7428, and that's the colour I think complements the shirt. And then I don't really want that black border, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I can just assign colour 0, which is a completely transparent colour, just disappears. And now I have the symbols that I wanted in the design, and actually I could leave that like that. That represents the bridge, but let's just use the tool and add some shoulder. That's the wrong side. Add some shoulder stripes that I can scale to match my bridge. And this is the beauty of having 3D preview, which is millimeter precise. I can align that there visually, always see what I'm doing, assign the right color, and now I've got this continuous stripe. It's not quite right, so I can just adjust that. And if I can use the keyboard shortcut plus or minus, and that reduces the size. You can see that I'm not on the highest resolution. I should be able to run in the highest resolution. So under the toolbox, we can go under performance and say, yeah, well, that's actually is a high resolution. Now I get it even more obvious. Move it over a little bit until it matches exactly. Now that should match on the other side. So I can just take a copy of that. Just zoom in so I can see what I'm doing on the other side. D. And then I can make a reference, or I can make a copy. Now a copy is like an independent copy, whereas the reference, if I use reference, then what I do to the main shape will be mirrored in the other shape. You can see, again, just use the arrow keys, match that up, and that is the design. Now The local team, the club is actually closed at the moment for the winter season. They'll be open again next week, where I hope to go and talk to them about this design and see if they have any input. But their main sponsor is the main supermarket, which is called Rema 1000. Rema 1000. Not sure if they have them in England. So I have their logo on my computer, so I can upload that. I think it's in my coursework somewhere, design course. You can see it's a SVG graphic, so scales nicely. And those are their official logo colours. That's exactly, you can see that it snaps centre and centre, so that is the exact centre of the shirt. Size wise, seems about right. Maybe I could play with the colour. We have this like colorized tool here. You can see that these are the three colours that are actually in the graphic, and then I could assign those to our default colours. So the red we could assign to gold. Maybe keep the white and assign the green instead of the blue. And we're getting a more harmonic graphic. I'll just hide the tool so we don't get distracted by that. Or we could go all gold. See what that looks like. That is maybe even better. And we could be influenced by that and use it for the rest of the text. We have this kind of double border, so I'll try that. So let's select the 23, because I can carry on adding borders. It was kind of made for American tackle twill, which is typically 3 colours. So I can add another border. I want to make that gold as well, and then make it big enough that we can see it. Oh, I wasn't watching what I was doing there. So now we've got gold and gold, so we want to change the first border to white, or in this case maybe light blue. Let's change the text to gold. Now we've got gold, gold. So we want to change that. The first border would be, say, light blue, and then the second border gold. And we can always introduce white. This is going to be sublimated, so we can always use white, which is the natural colour of the fabric, so it wouldn't be printed on. So let's assign colour 5 as white, and then we can use that. And then we've got kind of a match between the logo and the number. At this stage I would probably ask someone's advice, because I'm not a born graphic designer. We'll try that with the rest of the text. It would be nice if I could copy that style over. I think what I'll do is delete that text there, select that element, duplicate it, and then I can use that for my text there. Tell it that it's the player name, so that it can be altered dynamically when we're doing a roster. And the same thing here. I will have to adjust the width, but I can reuse the text zone to do it all again, or I can just scale it there. Might want to change the letter spacing. Yeah, well, I'm quite happy with that. So let's do some branding. Put the amorphic logo on the sleeve. Let's just probably spell it right. Let's give it the gold colour. I quite like this combination, the rust red, green and gold. Maybe a little bit big. And copy that over. Make a copy, put it over the sleeve. Let's check that out. And then we'll put one in the back of the neck there. And I guess that needs to be the other way around. Let's zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Zoom in on the 3D as well. And if you hold Control down, you don't get the snapping function sometimes. Snap can be a pain. Just turn that around. That snaps to 90 degrees. Make it a little bit smaller. And there we go. So now we've got the design created, we can kind of check it out, what it's going to look like in reality. Now we have this AI Studio. You take a screenshot. And then you can do a virtual try-on, so we can try a soccer player in a flood-lit stadium. Let's just create that. Then we can get a better idea what it would look like on the field. Just check that out in a bigger size, and I'm quite satisfied with that. Apart from the Adidas branding there, we've got some ideas for the shorts and the socks to match. So that's our finished design. And if we wanted to send that to production, we can create a print file. Just by pressing here, you need to know the width of the printer for the nesting, and then we can just generate a preview. It's just a second, and there we have the production ready print file. Now I know that the team at the moment, they play in red, although they have 13 teams and they don't seem to play in the same colour. I'm hoping there's some poetic license there. But if they did want a red shirt,